Welcome back to Greg's Game Room. I hope this video finds you all happy and healthy today, but should you ever be faced with a possible zombie outbreak, you might need to prepare yourself. And I'm not talking about rushing out and buying up all the toilet paper. What I am talking about is learning how to survive the storm of a zombie apocalypse by playing video games. So here are 5 zombie-related video games to get you ready. First, we have a game for the Atari 2600 called Entombed by US Games. Now, I'm not sure if this truly qualifies as specifically a zombie game, but just use your imagination. I mean, most Atari games require that anyway. In this game, you travel downward into a randomly generated maze, avoiding, zombies? Monsters? Well, whatever you can imagine. And you also have to collect, bricks? Oh, okay, sure, that works. As you travel downward, your hope is to avoid any dead ends because that could trap you and then take your life. If you've collected some of those bricks, you might be able to smash open the walls to keep yourself going. Now, I recently heard about this game when its maze generation algorithm was studied in academia. The data to create the mazes is really too large for an Atari game like this, and the programmer was apparently drunk when he came up with it, and now he can't remember how he did it. Anyway, it's an interesting game because of the maze algorithm, but I can't say it's really all that fun. But it does get kind of intense, wondering if you're going to get through the stage, and it's at least good for learning how to avoid the zombies. Our next game is called Horror Zombies from the Crypt, which is a side-scrolling platform game for the Atari ST, Amiga, and MS-DOS computers. Always found this game's style so very cool since it tried to look like a 1950s horror movie, and it was one of the first games where I actually enjoyed the cinematic. In the game, you play as Count Frederick, who is apparently trying to destroy all the zombies, mummies, wolfmen, and witches from his newly inherited house. Okay, yeah, I made up that last part about the inheritance thing, but, it seems pretty plausible. You have to collect keys to open the doors, and then skulls to move on to the next stage. The graphics and animation are good, but the colors seem kind of muted, and I'm sure that was intentional to make it look like an old movie. But I would have preferred the color palette to be a little more colorful. The sound effects are good too, but unfortunately you have to choose between either sound or music. You can't have both. It's a pretty decent game overall, and good for killing some time, or monsters. Our next game is the Sega classic, House of the Dead. Originally an arcade shooting game from 1996, this game has found its way onto the Sega Saturn and the sequel on the Sega Dreamcast. It's a pretty simple game, just shoot everything that isn't a human.
Thank you.
Of course that includes zombies, worms, flying bats, demon dogs, vampires, and the usual assortment of horror creatures. After getting through an area, you shoot a boss to move on to the next stage. Reach the end to save Sophie, but if you fail, she becomes a zombie. This is a really fun game that has spawned a couple of sequels. One is the obvious House of the Dead 2 for the arcades and the Dreamcast, but there's also Typing of the Dead where you use your keyboard to blast the creatures. It's kind of weird, but good for learning typing.
Help! Help! Help!
There's also a House of the Dead movie, but the less said about that, the better. Anyway, this game is a real blast to play, and it'll teach you to keep your composure when a zombie just randomly pops up in front of you for no reason. Next we have Zombies Ate My Neighbors, a 1993 Konami release developed by LucasArts for the Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo. In the game you play as either Zeke or Julie, who use their water guns against horrible zombies, spiders, aliens, werewolves, vampires, and other creatures. Seriously, water guns though? That's all it takes? Okay. Besides blasting enemies with just water, you also have to save the residents in your area. Those areas include the neighborhood, the shopping mall, the local haunted castle, a UFO. Yeah, this game's kind of weird. Once you rescue the residents, you move on to the next area. Zombies Ate My Neighbors has good graphics, sound, and playability. The graphics are a bit better on the Super Nintendo, but I like the speed of the Genesis version slightly better. It's also a good training tool for how to use water guns responsibly. And to remember to never leave your friends behind, especially if he's a dog. Finally, we have one of the weirdest games I've ever played, Zombie Nation for the Nintendo NES. Released in 1990, it's a rare side-scrolling shooter where you play as a giant, disembodied head destroying buildings, planes, helicopters, tanks, and even zombified people atop the buildings. Seriously, did they think they could stop me? Another thing to watch out for are the cosmic rays, which will pretty much kill you instantly. While smashing everything up, be sure to rescue any people that are falling out of the buildings. The more people you save, the faster you'll be able to shoot. And if you save 15 people, you'll get a smart bomb that just destroys everything on the screen. The graphics are very detailed and the action is fast and fun. I like how you can just basically destroy everything by shooting your eyeballs and tongue. At least I think that's your tongue. But it's just weird how they regenerate fast enough to be squeezed out of your head at such a rapid speed. This is one crazy game, but it's actually pretty good. If you ever get a chance to play it, give it a shot. You might learn how to save people from tall buildings? I don't know. So there you have it, 5 video games to prepare you for the zombie apocalypse. These games will teach you to avoid dead ends, use water guns, throw knives, never leave your friends behind, and not flinch when zombies just pop up randomly in front of you. All very important skills to have. So forget water, supplies, shelter, just play these games. Of course, I'm kidding, these games won't actually teach you how to shoot a water gun. Anyway, that's all for now. Thanks for watching, take care, and stay safe, everybody. No! Well, at least I got my toilet paper.